Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It's Tuesday, the 21st of October, 2025. And as always, these are the WTF reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, holding the mainstream media's feet to the fire because you won't be trusted anymore. All right. Oh my gosh, it's such a soap opera. Every day there's something else to freak out about and say, WTF. Well, I'm here with the audio receipts as always. So I'm here, WTF, with the facts. What were you thinking? Anyway, this broadcast is brought to you in part by the Wave Watch. If you haven't checked it out, I don't know what you're waiting for. Run screaming to your computer, go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and check out the Wave Watch. It's based on the Tesla technology. Frequency is everything. That's what he said. And Royal Raymond Rife ran with that, and he created Rife machines. And, of course, they were suppressed, and frequencies were shunned and frowned upon, etc., etc. Well, there's a woman by the name of Linda Banber, and she figured out how to take a Rife machine and shrink it down to the size of a wristwatch, and that's what the Wave Watch is all about. If you haven't checked it out, please do so. You're going to do yourself a big favor. Okay, where do we start today? There's a whole bunch of different topics I want to touch upon. Right off the bat, I've noticed that on social media, there are tons of posts of very irate individuals who have been benefiting from the WIC programs and the EBTs and the SNAP benefits and the food stamps and all that. Well, a lot of that's going to be cut off for people. Well, not necessarily cut off, but if they want to continue to receive those benefits, they have to put in about 20 hours a week in community service. In other words, they're going to have to get off their butts and work. And they don't like that. And there was one post by a woman, it was a before and after. And her before post was that, oh, I'm so lucky. I have 6 kids, and I'm getting all my benefits. I get over $4,000 a month for food stamps and blah, 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 blah. And she was bragging on how much she gets in her benefits. She only pays $50 a month for her rent, and she was just beaming because she gets to stay home with her kids and basically, just suck off the system. And I couldn't help but think, and she also bragged that she had 6 children by 6 different baby daddies. Now, wait a second. If she'd stopped spreading her legs, maybe she wouldn't be so dependent on the system. But anyway, she posted an after. Now she finds out that she's not going to be getting those benefits unless she gets out there and does some work. And now she's really PO'd. She is really ticked off. Well, she and many others now are posting on social media that what they're going to do once those bennies get cut off on November 1st, I think it is, first week in November. Well, you know what they're going to do? They're just going to do their shopping, and they're going to fill up their grocery carts, and then they're just going to walk out of the store. Yeah, they're not going to pay for it, and they're just going to walk out of the store, and God help anybody who tries to stop them. Yeah, they're threatening violence. So we may see a lot of that going on at your local grocery store and your Walmart, et cetera, come the first of the month. Well, there are other people who are saying, well, I'm not going to do my shopping. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait in the parking lot, and I'll wait till somebody else comes out with all of their groceries, and I'm going to take it from them. Yeah, that's how they're going to work this. So I don't know. We're going to start seeing some really strange stuff going down here. I don't know how that's going to play out, but you got to keep your heads on a swivel and, start protecting yourselves. And whatever you have to use to protect yourself, I'm not going to suggest anything, Second Amendment, but, well, you may not. You may have to. I don't know. But things are going to get pretty wild and crazy. So just keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, keep your head on a swivel, because things looking like they're going to get kind of nuts. They really are. So anyway, that's one of the first things I wanted to give you a heads up on. One of the other things is this ceasefire. Yes, peace has come to the Middle East. Yes, Hamas returned the remaining hostages, and Israel's going in there to finish the job. So now that they got all the hostages back, oh, and by the way, they were screaming, well, why weren't there any female hostages? Well, because the female hostages were released weeks ago. Many of them were in great condition. But, of course, the mainstream media doesn't want to tell you that. So, anyway, this ceasefire, this is ridiculous. It's not a ceasefire. And they're just going in there and slaughtering whoever is left. And, of course, they're doing so with the blessing of Donald Trump and the American government. Give a listen to this.
Israel bombed Gaza more than 100 times today. More than 100 times today. 51 Palestinians, they've killed 51 Palestinians since the start of the ceasefire. The border to Rafah is closed. They never actually opened the border to Rafah, and they have withheld aid. They have released a statement basically saying they're withholding aid for an indefinite amount of time. How many war crimes did I just list? They also bombed a school. I should add that as well. They bombed a school where people were sheltering. So that is a war crime. Withholding aid is a war crime. Refusing to open the border, I'm pretty sure, is also like a violation of the ceasefire agreement. And you have the fact that they bombed Gaza 100 fucking times today. They conducted more than 100 airstrikes on a civilian population living amongst the rubble. And Western media outlets are still reporting on this fragile ceasefire agreement. In what stretch of the imagination is it a ceasefire if one side is bombing the other? I'm pretty sure they bombed a bus and killed school children. They bombed a shelter and killed school children. And now they are starving them. They are withholding aid again.
So much for the ceasefire, right? And I got to tell you, if you're Jewish out there, you should be standing up and screaming from the top of your lungs against the regime in Israel. That doesn't mean that you're turning your back on your religion. Nobody's asking you to do that. But this regime, they're all imposters. As a matter of fact, wait, let me see. Over here, where is it? Let me see here. I got it here. So, okay. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, I got a list here. I have a list here. I've covered this in the past. As of January of 2024, last year I made this list. And, of course, this is after the October 7th attack, okay, which I believe was a Hannibal directive. But I've got a list here of all of the members of Bibi's regime, his cabinet, etc., etc. Of course, Benjamin Netanyahu, his real name is Benjamin Miłkowski, and he is of Polish descent. And so Benjamin Netanyahu is not from the Middle East. As a matter of fact, he doesn't have any genealogy that ties him to the Middle East. As I said, he's of Polish descent, as is Yoav Gallant, former defense minister, brutal guy. He is also from Poland or is of Polish descent. Isaac Herzog, Israeli president, he's got Irish blood. Yeah. His ancestors came from Ireland. All right, let me see. Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister, he's from the Ukraine. Itamar Ben-Gvir, national security minister, his bloodline takes him to Iraq. Eli Cohen, foreign minister, he's from Morocco. Yair Lapid, opposition leader, he's from Serbia. Benny Gantz, former defense minister and war cabinet, he is from Hungary and Romania. Gilad Erdan, the Israeli UN representative, is also from Romania. I mean, there's not one person on this cabinet list who's from the Middle East. I mean, they're all non-indigenous. And that's why I think in Revelation 2:9 and 3:9, it says there are those who call themselves Jews, but they are not. Anyway, so it's crazy. It's insane. And, and again, I'm putting the call out there for all of the folks that are out there of the Jewish faith. You should be standing up and screaming against Israel's atrocities. I mean, you'll be the first one to see, oh, I'm being persecuted, I'm being attacked, I'm being hated on. Well, that's because you are allowing Bibi and his regime to continue with this madness. You should be speaking up against Donald Trump and the Republican, the entire Congress, Republicans and Democrats alike. They're all sucking up to Bibi Netanyahu. What did he get? 96 standing ovations when he addressed the Congress? I don't know. Anyway, there's a gentleman who was screaming like I am, about these atrocities. Here he is.
Israel is this like absolutely brutal, barbarian, oriental society that shares no Western values whatsoever. They spit on Christians and bomb their churches. Then how come we're supporting them then? Well, if all they do is deliberately shoot toddlers in the head all day because they think it's funny.
Yeah.
And they wear shirts with a target on a pregnant woman's belly that say 1 shot, 2 kills. Because they're just the goyim, which means it's the same thing as the N-word, right? It means they're gooks. It means you can kill them and it's fine. Then if that's true, that Israel is by far the most evil regime on the planet, and make the Chicoms look like angels, then how come we love them so much? How come my minister says that I'm their slave and I have to do whatever they say?
Yeah.
How come America, the land of truth and justice and freedom and liberty and independence, would be beholden to something that is an Eastern Oriental barbarian society that absolutely rejects Western values in every single way? Well, never mind the last 2 years of bombing. They've held these people in utter slavery for longer than the Soviets occupied Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Since 10 years before I was born.
It's been going on for a long time. 1948, that's when the Nakba, or the catastrophe, began. So yes, there are folks out there that are standing up against this murderous, maniacal, sadistic, brutal regime. And I was going to say I don't understand how America can stand by, how our elected officials can stand by and let this happen. But then again, I remember the 3 magic words:
bribery, coercion, blackmail.
Yeah, those 3 magic words just keep popping up. Anyway, this whole regime, and they're just lying through their teeth. You know, what was it in 2019? Netanyahu was quoted as saying, and I quote, "In order to secure the state of Palestine," wait, he said the state of Palestine, or excuse me, the Palestinian state. I got it backwards. In order to secure the Palestinian state, which in itself, he's acknowledging that they exist. In order to secure a Palestinian state, we must support Hamas. We must fund Hamas. That's what he said in 2019. And that's backed up by several Israeli officials who came out and said the following.
Netanyahu was all the time helping Hamas to survive.
At the same time that he was under investigation, he arranged for Hamas to receive $35 million every month from Qatar.
Netanyahu can't give the money by himself. Israel will not give money to the Hamas. You cannot even transfer this money through banks, because even the banks don't want to cooperate. So you, the Israeli Prime Minister, needs to beg this small and very rich country, Qatar, to give money to our enemy.
These suitcases of money was given to Hamas under the request of Benjamin Netanyahu personally. And because the Qatarians knew him from the beginning, they were asking him to send them his requests in writing.
In writing.
Because they knew that he's going to lie in the future.
I'm going to pause it because while I was watching this video, they showed the actual letter that was sent from Netanyahu to the Qatari officials asking for the money. It was in writing.
He allowed more than $1 billion to be transferred to the hands of the Hamas because he believed that he can control the level of hatred. It's nonsense. He cannot control the flames.
No. So there you have it, folks. This entire thing has been orchestrated, controlled, funded, and backed up. And this adds more fuel to the fire to those of us who have been questioning what happened on October 7th. And that's why I believe Charlie Kirk was one of the many reasons why Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was coming out and he asked, was there a stand-down order? Was there a stand-down order? Yeah, that's what he said. And again, if you haven't seen that documentary that's on Rumble, yeah, it's still out there. The attack on Israel on October 7th was 100% an inside job. And when you watch that and you hear the testimony of IDF soldiers and security people saying the same thing, you have to question what the heck happened on October 7th. Was this basically an inside job? Oh, and by the way, speaking of October 7th, you remember the photographs of the concert goers' cars, the parking area? Half of those cars were melted. Yeah, they were melted. Now, you tell me if Hamas has access to direct energy weapons that are powerful enough to melt a car, melt the glass, melt the metal. Think outside the cage, campers. So anyway, yeah, and as a matter of fact, Bibi is so bold about this. Even Tucker Carlson is paying attention to what happened last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, when Bibi Netanyahu invited all the social media influencers to come on a prepaid visit to Israel, and they were wined and dined and given caviar and lobster and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, and then he had this little discussion about how are we going to change the attitude of America. Of course, up to now, the Israelis, or those who call themselves Jews, they deny having any type of influence whatsoever over the U.S. government, or especially the U.S. media, despite the fact that if you look at the membership, the higher-ups, the administration of CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, blah, blah, blah. How many of them are represented there with that star of Moloch, the star of Remphan? Oh, yeah, they don't have any influence over the media whatsoever. Well, Tucker, bless his heart, he's pushing the buttons. He really is.
We talked about the woke right. He said, I call it the woke Reich.
It's almost unbelievable that he said that on camera. Imagine, this is a foreign leader bragging about how he's censoring Americans. Again, this guy runs a country of 9 million people that's totally dependent on our tax dollars to exist. And here he is on camera saying, anyone who opposes me in the United States, who opposes more aid to Israel or opposes getting sucked into war with Iran, which does not serve American interests, that person is not simply mistaken or wrong. I'm not going to bother to explain why that person is wrong. That person is a Nazi, part of the woke Reich, a Nazi. And the only way to fix it is by preventing Americans in the last country on earth with guaranteed freedom of speech, prevent Americans from hearing the other side. And so we push Congress to force a TikTok sale, which is true, by the way.
TikTok, number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential.
And we need to talk to Elon.
So we have to talk to Elon.
Free speech is central to the entire idea of America. In fact, it's really the only thing that sets us apart from any other country on earth. And here's this guy, a foreign head of state, who, let me restate, is totally dependent on our tax dollars to exist, is saying Americans don't have that right, and he's going to do some kind of secret pressure campaign on Elon Musk to censor X because it bothers Israel?
It's already happening. As a matter of fact, what's his name? Ryan Mata pointed out that somebody was did a little experiment, and so what they did is they posted "deport all Muslims," and that just went through. That got posted, and it said "deport all." Another group, I forget what it was there. Deport all Hispanics, and it went through. Anyway, deport this person, deport that, and they all were fine. But as soon as he said deport all Israelis, bang, they got flagged. So yeah, there is something afoot with X, and and Tucker Carlson and many others are taking a lot of flack because of their criticism of Israel. And especially the number one person who's getting really taken over the coals right now is Candace Owens. Now, I have to give her kudos, because I know what it's like to be in a position when you ask questions that people don't want asked, let alone answered. I went through that with the 9/11 issue. For those of you who know my history, my background, I was right on the front lines in the early 2000s in regard to the attacks of 9/11, and also with the Gulf War veterans issues. And what you can do, if you want to vet me, go on. Come on. I triple dog dare you. Use the Wayback Machine and go to, you can go to thepowerhour.com. Oh, no, I'll tell you what. Go to gulfwarvets.com. Yeah, use the Wayback Machine and go to gulfwarvets.com and then turn the clock back to, say, 2003, 2004, or yeah, even 2000. You know, we're talking 20, 25 years ago. And you'll find when you get that website, click on the documents button, and it'll show you all the documents. And I'm prefacing this right now because I'm going to refer to that shortly. But there are a couple other issues I want to get to before I touch on that particular topic. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But yeah, getting back to Candace Owens, yeah, she's taking a lot of heat because she's investigating Charlie's assassination. And there are people out there that do not want you to investigate. You stop. Don't even ask questions. It was Tyler Robinson. That's it. Case closed. As a matter of fact, the judge in the case has put a gag order on all of the witnesses. Yeah, anybody who was at that university, if you've got a cell phone and you were taking video, they're probably going to come after you and try to shut you up. They don't want you talking about it. They don't want you talking to the media. They don't want you to have any other puzzle pieces because any other puzzle pieces are going to basically blow even more holes in the official narrative. Anyway, and not only that, but now folks are starting to take a look, whoa, and this is explosive, at Erica Kirk, her background, and her parents' backgrounds. Real interesting stuff. I mean, you want to talk about a piece of political toilet paper stuck to your shoe. This has just come out about Erica Kirk, and I think this needs to be investigated. And anybody who dares to do the investigation, who starts to take flack, criticism, accusations, and insults, we need to look at the accusatory fingers. Say, why is it that you don't want these issues investigated? Why is that, Benny Johnson, Jack Posobiec? And a lot of you other folks at Turning Point USA, you want everybody to shut up. You want everybody to stop investigating Charlie's assassination. Why? Anyway, this has just come out. Oh, man, I'm telling you, there's people out there that are digging and digging hard, and God bless them for doing so. Listen up.
Bombshell legal documents reveal that Erica Kirk's non-profit was tied to a formal investigation into child trafficking in Romania.
Whoa!
An investigation led by local authorities and later quietly dismissed. According to the mainstream media, that's where the story ends, case closed. But dig a little deeper and it starts to unravel. Because those investigators, they never had full control. Their jurisdiction had already been ceded to foreign command structures operating inside Romania. The same network Erica's parents were deeply embedded in.
Yep.
And here's the part they don't want you to know. We have the receipts, the correspondence, and the official documents to prove every piece of it. So yes, the case was dismissed, but not because there was nothing to find, because they were never allowed to find it.
Yeah. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I've gone down this rabbit hole, and I would suggest the rest of you do the same. Don't ever shun or turn away information. You know, that's the only way that you can make an informed decision. If you shun information, then how informed is your decision? And again, we have to start looking at the accusatory fingers instead of those who are being accused. And that's the way it ought to be. Anyway, I got a couple other issues I want to get to. However, I got to take a quick break for a pause for the cause.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now, the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth, at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And if you haven't tried Get More Tank, I don't know what's it going to take. I don't know what's going to take. Get More Tank works. I've been using it now for 2 years, and I'm so glad that I started using it because my car runs great. And yours will too. Because Get More Tank is not a fuel additive, it's a fuel catalyst. It changes the way your fuel burns. And in doing so, it cleans your engine, gives you more power, and once your engine makes the adjustment, you're going to get better mileage. Anywhere between 15 and 20% better mileage depending upon your make, model, and year of vehicle and your driving habits. I've enjoyed an increase in my mileage, and you will too. I also like it when the light turns green and I hit my pedal, boom! I go out like a starting line. So hey, look at it. If you haven't tried Get More Tank, with the promo code, it's only going to cost you $20. You get 5 tablets in a package, and each tablet goes into a tank of fuel once you've conditioned your car. The conditioning only takes 2 tablets for the first application. You put 2 tablets into a tank of gas, and then start using it 1 tablet per tank, and you will see your mileage increase. You will see better performance from your vehicle. So, and if you're getting 20% better mileage, do the math. 5 tablets, 20%, that means the 5th tank is free. Okay? This is a no-brainer, folks. It's a win-win. So go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and click on the sponsors page and get more tank. You'll be glad that you did. Okay, a couple of other related topics, one of which this is kind of terrifying. And for those of you who know my background, way back in the 90s and early 2000s when I was with Joyce, and we were the American Gulf War Veterans Association, we were pulling up all kinds of government documents, Senate reports, congressional hearings, and we were uncovering and sharing all the experiments that the government has been doing on the American people for decades. I mean, all kinds of strange things. Releasing mosquitoes in Florida that were infected with viruses. They were throwing bacteria into the Tuscarora tunnels in Pennsylvania. They were putting bacteria in light bulbs and smashing them in the New York City subway systems. They were releasing bacteria off the coast of San Francisco and watching how far inland these bugaboos would drift. I mean, they've been doing this for years and years. Well, guess what the newest thing is? Wait till you hear this one. You better stand up and take notice because it's going to affect a lot of people. Listen to this.
We want to tell you about something incredibly alarming that we haven't heard many people talking about at all. This was posted by Epoch Health just the other day. Vaccines being airdropped across the US. Planes, helicopters and trucks are blanketing rural America with millions of oral rabies vaccines this month, with almost no warning to residents. The government says it's safe, but pets and livestock can ingest the vaccine baits, leaving many to ask what happens if they do.
Okay, I'm going to pause it for a second. Now, what she's talking about is that they made these little treats. You know, like you give your dog a little dog bone, milk bone or whatever it is. These little, biscuits or cookies or treats. And they're dumping them out of planes and helicopters and trucks in the rural areas. And all of the livestock can eat these. The deer, the raccoons, the possums, the dogs, the kitties. Any animal that's out there can ingest these things. And they're saying, it's a vaccine to protect them from rabies. Oh my gosh, what could go wrong?
The U.S. Department of Agriculture is airdropping oral rabies vaccines in 6 states in October in a bid to stop the spread of the potentially deadly virus. This is happening in Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. And they are going to be the recipients of the airdropped vaccines this month in October, according to a statement from the agency. The USDA did not provide a starting date for the process. One project will cover areas in North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and a small area in West Virginia to distribute 634,000 oral rabies vaccine baits via vehicles, airplanes, and helicopters, the USDA said. Another 410,000 of the baits will be distributed in western North Carolina and northern Georgia. 690,000 baits will be dropped in Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, and Tennessee, and 718,000 baits will be distributed in parts of northeast and central Alabama. Several other states, including parts of Pennsylvania, Maine, Western New York, and Ohio, started receiving the vaccines in August, said the USDA. Part of Massachusetts started receiving vaccines in September. Areas in several other states, including portions of Maine, Western New York, Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, and other areas of West Virginia, began receiving vaccines in August. Wildlife rabies poses a significant risk to domestic animals such as livestock and pets, Dr. Michael Watson, USDA official involved in the program, said in a statement in August. And by reducing rabies, we are safeguarding human and animal health and so on and so forth. Now, you may think that that sounds perfectly okay. They've been doing this for a while, managing rabies. It's important to manage rabies. Take a look at this article from John Fleetwood on Substack, though. USDA drops live virus containing rabies edibles from helicopters, airplanes across the United States, leaving persons at risk for vaccine exposure and vaccine virus infection, CDC. Lab-engineered Frankenstein virus makes animals contagious for weeks, putting humans at risk and raising informed consent concerns.
No kidding. Informed consent. You're not being informed, are you? Are you giving your consent to this? Good luck with that. Well, that's why I said just a couple of minutes ago, if you're at your computer, then what you need to do is go to the Wayback Machine and type in the website gulfwarvets.com. All right, that was our website. It's not up anymore, but you use the Wayback and you'll find it. So go back to the early 2000s. You go back 20, 25 years. And pull up gulfwarvets.com. And once that page comes up, look for the Documents button. Yeah, click on Documents. Now, the reason I'm telling you to do that now, because I'm going to be referring to one of those documents that we had posted all those years ago, because it's rearing its ugly head again. And to preface this, I want to play a clip from, again, Tucker Carlson. And he is he's shaking the trees. And to see what kind of fruits are dropping out. And of course, there's, you don't get flack unless you're over the target. He's taking a lot of flack these days. Give a listen to this.
So I remember Bobby Kennedy got into a great deal of trouble because he said at some event, of course, the New York Post led the charge against him, of course, but that COVID could be tailored, or in fact, for whatever reason, COVID had disparate effects on populations.
That's absolutely true. I mean, that's scientifically true, and I was quite familiar with that literature when he made that comment.
What does that mean? Which populations suffered most from COVID?
There was a finding in a scientific publication that two different populations of people of Jewish ancestry, depending which line they're from, where one was more heavily impacted than the other. Mm-hmm. And that was
Sephardic Ashkenazi.
Yes,
basically.
And that was the finding.
Ashkenazi.
And
yeah.
I think the point that he was trying to make, or maybe didn't articulate well, is that the agent can be tailored to have that effect, and that's absolutely true. And that's through old gain of function technology. And with full synthetics, what I'm saying is you can make this so specific is that if I got your DNA, like off a, say that you threw a cup, I can tailor an agent just to you. And this is how it's changing. And if you're using AI behind that, I could then, and I say that I got a DNA sample from a couple of your relatives, so I knew what your family tree partially looked like. Machine learning is very good at actually random forest and tree decision making. You could do a lot of complex AI behind this to figure out and make predictions that AI could about what your family tree looked like and have the disease travel through your family line.
In other words, it can use AI to track your family line, your DNA, your genetics. Okay, now that's today, in the year 2025. Okay, I'm going to take you back, 31 years. In just a moment, if you haven't pulled up gulfwarvets.com, click on the documents, and I'm going to be sharing the document I'm referring to is entitled A Revolution in Military Affairs and Conflicts Short of War. I'm going to refer to that document from the U.S. Army War College in just a moment. But you just heard Tucker Carlson referring to something that RFK Jr. had stated. And he said this at a dinner gathering, and I'm going to let you hear what RFK said. And this is going back about 6 months ago. Listen carefully.
COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese.
Okay, I'm pausing it. Did you hear that? I'm going to back it up again. I know it's got some background noise, but give a listen again. Take note.
Asians and black people.
Okay, it's mostly the hokey pokey thingy dingy was designed to affect mostly Caucasians and black people, and yet it was also designed to avoid infecting other groups.
The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese. But we don't know whether it was deliberately targeted that or not. But there are papers out there that show the racial and ethnic differential impact to that. We do know that the Chinese are spending hundreds of millions of dollars developing ethnic bioweapons, and we are developing ethnic bioweapons. That's what all those labs in the Ukraine are about. They're collecting Russian DNA. They're collecting Chinese DNA so that we can target people.
That's what the biolabs in Ukraine were all about, is collecting the DNA from different ethnic groups so that they can develop specific biological weapons to attack those groups. That's what that's all about. That's why Putin was losing his cookies and went into Ukraine, or it's one of the contributing factors. Now stop and think about it, folks. If Russia or China had 30-plus biological laboratories just over the border, the northern border of the United States into Canada, how would you feel? How would you feel if there were biological laboratories developing biological weapons to specifically target specific groups in this country? Think about that. So this is why Vladimir Putin, or like I said, one of the contributing reasons why he went into Ukraine, to destroy those biological laboratories. Oh, and by the way, a lot of those biolabs were funded by individuals who are named in the Hunter Biden laptop. Boom! All right, now, what was RFK referring to? Why was he saying that there were certain technologies that were being developed to target specific ethnic groups? Well, now for those of you who actually did, go to the Wayback Machine and pull up gulfwarvets.com and click on the documents page, and you come across a document, and I have a hard copy in my hand. It's called The Revolution in Military Affairs and Conflict Short of War. This was drawn up by the U.S. Army War College, July 25th, 1994, 31 years ago, written by Stephen Metz and James Kivet. Now, I turn to page 9. You think that Tucker Carlson's nuts? You think RFK is blowing smoke? I read. Certain biotechnical weapons considered by some to violate the Biological Warfare Convention, to which the United States is a signatory, also may transgress American values regarding appropriate means. Most Americans would not support the use of a weapon designed to target only a specific racial or ethnic group in anything less than a war for survival of the nation. Could the government and military of this multi-ethnic republic face charges that it was developing or using a weapon targeting Africans, Jews, Koreans, Hispanics, etc.? Would defense against such a charge occupy the attention of policymakers to the detriment of other essential businesses? And even accidental injuries or deaths caused by, quote, non-lethal, unquote, anti-material substances could be politically damaging. That is documented 31 years ago. That the United States could be doing it. I'm not saying that they are doing it, but they could be developing a biological weapon or biological weapons that are designed to target specific ethnic groups. That's exactly what RFK Jr. was talking about. Oh, but that's just a conspiracy theory. Okay, raise your hand and slap yourself with it. Anyway, yeah, this stuff has been going on for a long, long time, and yours truly has been screaming from the rooftops and blowing the trumpet, but no, you don't want to listen. No. But here we are. 31 years down the road, and now we're still talking about this crap. Oh, boy. Well, people are waking up all over the world. And by the way, if you want to belly up to the phone bar, you're welcome to do so. I got one more thing that I wanted to get to, but I got some time. If you want to call in, the phone number here is 215-867-8255. And yes, we're broadcasting at the 2 p.m. hour Eastern, and that would be the 11 a.m. hour Pacific time. So if you're listening during those times, we're live. If it's some other time of the day, then this is a replay and you can't call in. But if it's during that time, you can call in right now, 215-867-8255. Okay, going to change gears again because things are getting so crazy. And the powers that be are desperate to create a civil war. Okay? And there are people out there like, well, Jack Posobiec. Jack Posobiec, you need to be... I don't know, but you need to get with the program because he and many others are trying to just push this Tyler Robinson narrative and say it was the left, it was those liberals, it was those transgender guys, it was all those weirdos, those lefties, the lefties. They're trying to generate a civil war. So Jack Posobiec, I've lost all faith in you. I used to believe in you. I used to support you. Same thing with Sean Faresh. Same thing with Steve Bannon. Same thing with Benny Johnson. A lot of these people I would listen to and say, hey, they're making a lot of sense. Yeah, I'm on board with that. But now they're starting to show their true colors because they're going after the very people who are digging for the truth. And then you have to ask the question, why would anybody go after anybody who's looking for the truth? So, Jack Posobiec, you're trying to generate a right versus left conflict. Yes, a civil war, a horizontal confrontation. But a horizontal confrontation is not going to change things. That only plays right into the hands of the globalist agenda because that's who is orchestrating this. And you're playing right along with it. Is it that you were being paid off? Were you bribed? Did somebody make a threat to you? Maybe you're being blackmailed. Did you do something that you don't want anybody to know? Or maybe it is the coercion part. Maybe the assassination of Charlie Kirk live on television worldwide for everyone to see was sending a message to anyone else who might question the authorities of the Israeli government. Oh, you saw what happened to Charlie? You don't want that to happen to you, do you? No, you wouldn't want something to happen to your family or your wife or your kids or your mom or your dad or your cousins or your coworkers. No, you don't want that to happen. Well, then just stay in line. Maybe that's what's going on. But we can't get to the, we can't get to the truth that people are being, cowered or herded into some sort of a cage or something like that. And unfortunately, that's sort of where we are. But like I said, as we watch this insane clown world play itself out, people people, I played last week, people are waking up. But when they wake up, from the American dream, they find out that they're involved in a national nightmare. And the only reason it's gotten this way is because too many Americans, the overwhelming majority of these patriotic red, white, and blue mom, dad, and apple pie patriots are sitting on their big, fat, pimple-covered butts watching the playoffs or watching Netflix or going to the concert or doing anything and everything they can to distract themselves from the reality of the fact that your dollar ain't squat anymore. And you have fewer and fewer freedoms, and now you can't speak up against certain individuals or entities, or else you're going to face real bad blowback. So that's where we are, folks. You can't be the land of the free unless you're the home of the brave. And unfortunately, most of Americans are anatomically incorrect. So what's next for us? Well, let's see here. What do you suppose the next card to be played is going to... What do you suppose that next card is going to be? Some of you know. Some of you have been paying attention to all this scuttlebutt about the 3I Atlas. What is this object that just came flying in from interstellar space? What is this thing? It's only the third item, the third object ever observed that came from outside our solar system. What is this thing? And why is it changing its velocity? Yeah, it speeds up and slows down. Why and how is it that it changes its trajectory? Yeah, it's moving a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left. It's acting really strange. And it doesn't have a tail like a comet does. You know, it does have something, a glowing to it, like it has its own heat signature. There's something really strange coming into our solar system, or so that's what they're telling us. It could be something else altogether. But if you turn the clock back, remember after World War II was over, Operation Paperclip brought a lot of the German scientists to this country. I think it was like 750 scientists were brought into the United States from Germany after World War II through Operation Paperclip. Well, one of them was Dr. Wernher von Braun. He's the father of the rockets that we have in NASA. He was, one of the founding members. And he knew a bunch of stuff. Yeah, he knew a lot of stuff. As a matter of fact, this is something that I've mentioned on this broadcast before. If you haven't checked out the website, IngersollLockwood.com, and poked around in there, look for all of the hidden websites, yeah, you'll find a whole bunch of them have to do with UAPs and UFOs and the back engineering of alien craft back in the 1930s. They've been doing this for a long, long time. A lot of folks out there like Dr. Stephen Greer have been telling everybody for decades that yes, the United States and other countries have been back engineering extraterrestrial technologies for quite some time. And a lot of these reports of UAPs or UFOs are actually terrestrial. They are technologies that are very well hidden in the different governments of the world. And when people see these UFOs, they're actually terrestrial. They're actually these technologies that have been back engineered. So they're not extraterrestrial, they are terrestrial. However, there are real extraterrestrial craft as well. And they're setting the stage, they're setting the table to have full disclosure. There's a lot of congressional hearings that have been going on. As a matter of fact, I think there's a documentary that's going to be coming out in the next few weeks having to do with the disclosure of extraterrestrials. You're seeing it now a lot on the news. But I want to remind you that there is something else afoot, all right? Because Wernher von Braun, he had a lot of secrets, and he passed away, I believe, in 1974. But his assistant, his personal assistant, her name was Dr. Carol Rosen. And she had some very deep conversations with Wernher von Braun, and she had this to say. Listen carefully to what she said, what Dr. Wernher von Braun told her. Here she is.
The last card would be the extraterrestrial threat. Well, at the time, I kind of laughed when he said asteroids, and when he said extraterrestrials, I knew I wasn't going to deal with that subject. And now we hear on the news just today, this week, that they've slid in another enemy. Only this time we're going to protect our satellites. In other words, we have to have some reason to spend these trillions to waste these dollars on a space-based weapon system, and they're all lies.
A lie. A spin. And Wernher von Braun was trying to hint that to me back in the early 70s and right up until the moment when he died in 1977. What he told me is that there's an accelerated effort in place. He didn't mention a timeline, but he said that it was going to be speeding up faster than anybody could possibly imagine, and that the last card that was being held was the extraterrestrial enemy card. The intensity with which he said that made me realize that he knew something that he was too afraid to mention. He was too afraid to talk about it. He would not tell me the details. I'm not sure that I would have absorbed them if he had told me the details or even believed him in 1974. But there was no question that that man knew and had a need to know, I found out. The look in his eyes made it clear to me that he knew that there was something going on that was a big secret that he could not divulge.
And that was in 1974. We're talking over a half a century ago. So this is a long-term plan. This has been going on for a long, long time. And you know what? I sang about it 30 years ago.
Manipulate and rearrange. The plan is brilliant and long range. And no one notices the change. Understand, it's all been planned.
Yeah, understand it's all been planned. They've been doing this for decades and decades and decades. These people are not stupid. They're brilliant. They're absolute geniuses at deception and planning out diabolical plans. Okay? I mean, some of the stuff that's going on, it makes a Tom Clancy novel look like a comic book. And yes, they are absolutely brilliant. They are. And I don't know the answer. How do we defeat these disciples, these minions of Lucifer? And yeah, I say that specifically because we all know that he is the prince of deception, the prince of darkness. And yeah, he or it or they, the fallen ones, will do everything they can to deceive us. And unfortunately, so many people don't think outside of the cage. And that's the point of this broadcast and many others like it. And I don't care if you're conservative or liberal. We all know that the liberal media has been manipulated and controlled and, propagandized and spun. We all know that. But if you think that the conservative networks haven't been affected, well, then I don't know what to tell you. Because the subterfuge and manipulation and propagandizing is going on just as much in the conservative media. And again, I point out, yes, Turning Point USA, Real America's Voice, Newsmax, OAN, all of you folks, all of you who are blindly supporting Israel and blindly supporting this particular regime that we're living under. And yes, I was on board. Yeah, I didn't want Kamala Harris and the Democrats to have another 4 years of the messes that they created over the past administration. So, yeah, I was supporting Trump more than anybody else. But, I mean, now we see what Trump has been doing, and he's pulled a complete 180. Have we had the wool pulled over our eyes? Have we been psyoped? Have we been hoodwinked? Have we been flim-flammed? A lot of people are asking those very, very same questions. And that's why, I've been saying for the longest time, the Republicrats and the Demopublicans, they are all marching to the same tune, the same drummer. And that's the corporate Borg. Who's controlling the corporate Borg? Well, I think we all know. I really do. Anyway, there's that music. I hope you've enjoyed this program. If you find it informative, and I certainly hope you do, I hope you find it entertaining. And if those are true, well then please like, share, and subscribe, and above all else, tell people. Word of mouth is the best advertising. So if you're listening on Rumble or BitChute or YouTube or Facebook or whatever, like I said, click like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends and family and co-workers about it. All right, that said, it's going to wrap it up for our Taco Tuesday version of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist. I thank you for your listenership and your support. So, until tomorrow, God bless you all. Stay safe, stay free. And like I said, I'll see you tomorrow. God bless you.